They laughed at you, didn't they? They pointed, they whispered, they made sure you knew your place. They saw you stumble, they watched you fall, and oh, how they enjoyed it. You could hear their voices in the shadows, mocking you, tearing you apart, celebrating your defeat. They stripped you of your dignity, took away your throne, and left you to rot in the ruins of what they destroyed. And you almost believed them. Almost. But here's the thing about ashes underneath them. There are embers. And a single ember, given the right fuel, the right wind, the right moment, it can burn down an entire kingdom. The world has its games, and you, my dear friend, were a piece on their board. They moved you around, played you like a fool, made you believe that you needed them. That without their approval, without their validation, without their acceptance, you were nothing. But let me ask you this. What happens when a pawn refuses to move? What happens when the piece they thought was disposable suddenly changes the entire game? You see, they thought they took your crown, thought they left you powerless. But what they didn't realize was that you were never just a king. You were meant to be something greater. Kings can be dethroned. Empires, they last forever. Oh, they wanted you to break. That was their goal all along. They needed you to crumble under the weight of their betrayal, to shatter so they could say, "See, we were right. They were never strong enough." That's what they wanted to be right about you, to prove that you were nothing without them. But you didn't break. You didn't shatter. You didn't disappear. You stood back up, wiped the blood off your face, and smiled. And that terrifies them more than anything else. Because nothing scares people more than someone they couldn't destroy. They stole from you, didn't they? They took your trust, your kindness, your love, and twisted it against you. They smiled to your face while sharpening their knives behind your back. They drained you, hollowed you out, left you feeling empty, and for a while you believed you were. But here's the thing about emptiness: it leaves room for something new, something greater. And while they were busy celebrating their so-called victory, you were rebuilding, quietly, patiently, because the greatest revenge isn't proving them wrong. No. The greatest revenge is becoming untouchable. The world loves rules. They love control. They love keeping people in their place. They love their little games of power, their illusions of control. But the problem with games, they can be rewritten. They can be changed. And the moment you realize that, you stop playing by their rules. They want you to chase, you walk away. They want you to beg, you stand in silence. They want you to react, you smile. Because the moment you refuse to play their game, you force them to play yours. And that, my dear friend, is where the real power begins. Pain. That's their favorite weapon. They use it to manipulate, to break, to control. But what they don't understand is that pain. It's a gift. It is the thing that separates the weak from the unstoppable. Pain is not your enemy, it is your greatest weapon. It carves you into something stronger, something sharper, something they never saw coming. They thought they were hurting you, thought they were breaking you, but all they were doing was forging you. And now you don't just survive pain, you thrive in it, and that makes you dangerous. Because when you no longer fear pain, when you no longer flinch at the things that once destroyed you, you become something terrifying, something unbreakable, something inevitable. And now, here you are, standing in the ruins of what they tried to burn. But you You didn't turn to dust. You became the fire. They wanted you to disappear. Instead, you built something they could never tear down. They wanted you to beg for their acceptance. Instead, you created a world where their approval no longer mattered. They wanted to see you suffer. Instead, they are the ones watching in horror as you rise higher than they ever imagined. Because they thought they stole your crown, but what they failed to realize was that you were always destined to be more than just a king. So now, the game has changed. The board has shifted. And they're left wondering how they lost a battle they thought they had already won. But you and I both know the answer, don't we? They lost the moment they underestimated you. They lost the moment they thought they could break you. They lost the second you started laughing. Because there's something truly poetic about it, isn't there? The ones who betrayed you, the ones who abandoned you, the ones who mocked you now, they are the ones living in fear. Now, they are the ones watching as you rise, powerless to stop it. And the best part? They did this to themselves. You see, betrayal only works on the weak. But you were never weak. You were simply waiting for the right moment, waiting for the day you would rise from the ashes they left you with. And now, my dear, dear friend, that day has come. So go ahead, smile, laugh. Let them watch in terror as they realize the truth. Because they thought they destroyed you, but all they did was create something they could never control. And that, my friend, is the funniest joke of all. And now, they whisper your name in hushed voices, don't they? They speak of you like a ghost, a legend, a story that should have ended long ago, but somehow refuses to die. They glance over their shoulders, nervous, unsettled, because the one they tried to erase is still here, not just surviving, thriving. And that eats away at them, because in their minds, you were supposed to vanish. You were supposed to remain broken, lost, desperate for scraps of validation. Instead, you became something they can't even comprehend. Oh, how the tables have turned. The same mouths that once ridiculed you now hesitate before speaking your name. The same hands that pushed you down now tremble at the thought of what you might do next. The same people who thought they had won are now the ones staring at the wreckage of their own arrogance, wondering how they lost control. But you know the answer, don't you? You never needed their approval. You never needed their acceptance. You never needed their permission to be great. They just tricked you into thinking you did. For so long, they played God in your life. They decided who you were, what you deserved, what you were allowed to become. They fed you lies, convinced you that you were lesser, that you were powerless without them. But what happens when the puppet cuts its strings? What happens when the one they tried to manipulate suddenly stops caring? That, my dear friend, is when the real fun begins. Because here's the truth: the world hates those who cannot be controlled. They fear the ones who refuse to kneel, who refuse to break, who refuse to beg for mercy. And you've become a walking nightmare to them. Not because you seek revenge. Oh no, revenge is too simple, too predictable. What you've done is far worse. You've erased the need for them entirely. They no longer matter. Their opinions, their approval, their existence, it no longer holds weight in your world. And nothing is more terrifying than realizing you are irrelevant in someone else's story. They wanted you to believe you were alone, that without them, you had nothing. But the truth? The truth is, you needed to lose them. You needed to be abandoned. You needed to be betrayed. Because without that pain, without that suffering, without that fire, you would have never realized what you were truly capable of. They took everything from you, and in doing so, they freed you. And now, you walk without chains. You speak without fear. You move through this world untouched by the things that used to destroy you. And the people who once held power over you, they are nothing more than echoes of a past that no longer defines you. They see you now and don't recognize the person staring back, because you are no longer the broken thing they left behind. You are no longer the weak, naive soul they could manipulate. You have become something else entirely. And that, my friend, is a beautiful thing. Because while they remain trapped in their small, miserable games of ego and power, you have outgrown the battlefield entirely. While they scramble to maintain the illusion of their own importance, you walk away untouched, unbothered, untouchable, because they thought they stole your crown, but what they never understood was this: you were never meant to be a king. You were meant to be a force. And a force cannot be ruled. A force cannot be stopped. A force simply is. So let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them live in the shadow of the empire you built from the very ashes of their betrayal. Let them drown in the realization that they created their own downfall. Because while they were busy tearing you down, they never noticed the most dangerous thing of all. You were learning. You were evolving. You were becoming unstoppable. And now, they can do nothing but watch. Oh, how it must burn them inside, to know that every cruel word, every deception, every time they laughed at your pain, it all backfired. They thought they were burying you, but they were only planting the seeds of something far greater. And now, here you stand, taller than ever, casting a shadow so large they cannot escape it. But the best part? You don't even care. That's what destroys them the most. Because if you were still angry, if you were still seeking revenge, at least they would still matter. At least they would still hold some weight in your story. But no, you've outgrown that, haven't you? You've realized the true power is not in making them suffer. True power is in becoming so far removed from their existence that their suffering is irrelevant. They stole your crown, thinking it would break you. But they never understood that the crown was never the prize. The empire was. And you built it without them. You built it in silence, in the dark, in the moments when they thought you were drowning. Every brick laid with the lessons of your suffering. Every pillar carved from the pain they inflicted. Every wall fortified with the strength they never thought you'd find. And now, it stands unshakable. A kingdom not of gold and jewels, but of something far more valuable: self-mastery, resilience, and the kind of power they will never understand. And look at them now, scrambling, watching from the outside, trying to find a way back in. They whisper your name, not with mockery, but with unease. Because they know they lost something far greater than they ever realized. They lost you, the one they underestimated, the one they betrayed, the one who rose from the ashes of their destruction and built something untouchable. They want you to come back, to react, to acknowledge them. But why would you? Why would a king return to the battlefield when the war is already won? Why would an emperor waste time explaining himself to those who could never understand his vision? You see, they are still playing games, still chasing validation, still trying to prove something. But you have already proven everything by simply being. And here's the real irony. They are the ones who are trapped now, not you. They are trapped in their own bitterness, in the regret of what they lost, in the emptiness of their own choices. They used to hold all the power, but now they hold nothing, because the power has always been yours. They just distracted you from it for a while. So let them sit in their misery. Let them choke on the dust of the past they created. Let them watch from the sidelines as you walk through life untouched, unbothered, unshaken. Because you are no longer the victim. You are no longer the broken, desperate soul they thought they had destroyed. You are something else entirely now. You are free. And that, my dear friend, is the greatest revenge of all.